So we got a request to dive into Jake Smith's audiobook, Manipulation, Body Language, Dark Psychology, NLP, Mind Control. It's quite the title,
It is, isn't it?
and it's definitely got some heavy stuff in it. But that's kind of our bread and butter here, right? Getting into those complex topics. So for anyone tuning in, basically what we want to do is break down the main ideas of the book, give you a solid understanding of what Smith's getting at. We're talking about human behavior, how we influence each other, all that good stuff.
Right. It's like a crash course in recognizing those subtle, sometimes not so subtle ways we all try to get what we want from each other and how some people really weaponize that stuff.
Exactly. And Smith even goes there talking about dark psychology, which honestly is a term that always makes me sit up and pay attention. Like, okay, what are we really getting into here?
Well, I think the key here is that he's not saying go forth and be a master manipulator. It's more about, okay, let's look at the dark side of human nature, the motivations behind some of these really bad behaviors. Why? So we can understand them. And maybe, just maybe, protect ourselves.
Makes sense. So this dark triad he talks about, it's what? Narcissism, psychopathy, Machiavellianism? Like, what are we really talking about when we use these terms? We hear them all the time, but I think it's easy to just toss them around without truly understanding what they mean.
Totally. Let's start with narcissism. It's way more than just like being vain or self-absorbed, right? It's the deep down belief that you're better than everyone else, entitled. And that often comes with like zero empathy because you're so focused on yourself.
So you're using people, you're stepping on them to keep feeding that inflated ego.
Exactly. Then you've got psychopathy, which that's another level. We're talking lack of conscience, impulsive behavior. But, and this is the scary part, often with this very charming, charismatic personality.
Okay, yeah, that's disturbing. And so where does Machiavellianism fit into this?
Machiavellianism is more about cold, calculated manipulation. You're thinking strategically, always several steps ahead, and you're willing to do whatever it takes to get your way. And again, no empathy, right? It's all about you and your goals. The other person is just a pawn.
So I guess what's really unsettling is that these traits, they don't always manifest in extreme ways. Like, we can all probably think of someone who maybe displays some of these tendencies, even if it's on a smaller scale.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's one of the big takeaways in the book. It's not always about these like textbook cases. These traits exist on a spectrum. And recognizing them, even in their subtler forms, can help us navigate those tricky social situations. Those times where you get this weird feeling about someone, but you can't quite put your finger on it.
Yeah, that's so true. Like, maybe you meet someone and you're instantly charmed, but something feels a little, I don't know, off.
Right, and the book digs into even more dark stuff, too. Sadism, where someone actually enjoys causing pain, and then spitefulness, which is wild. Like, they'd rather hurt themselves than see someone else succeed.
Oof, yeah, that's dark. But okay, so we get the darker side of things, but then he goes into how to actually manipulate people. Not that we condone that, of course.
No, definitely not. But, like, understanding how manipulation works is crucial to recognizing when it's being used on you. And the book emphasizes that a lot of it comes down to understanding how other people think.
Like getting inside their heads.
Yeah, figuring out what makes them tick. What do they crave? What are they afraid of? Once you know that, you can tailor your approach, frame things in a way that appeals directly to their, like, deepest desires or anxieties.
So you're basically tapping into their existing beliefs to make your suggestions seem super appealing.
Right, like it was their idea all along.
Yeah.
That's the sneaky part. Successful manipulation is often about making the other person feel in control when really you're pulling the strings.
And I guess that's why the book dives into all these specific tactics. We're talking about, applying pressure, like just constantly pushing for what you want until the other person gives in.
That's one. Then there's building rapport, which, on the surface sounds innocent enough. But manipulators use this to gain your trust. They might mirror your body language, find common interests, just to make you feel like you two are on the same wavelength.
It's like disarming you, making you lower your guard.
Exactly. And then bam, they hit you with whatever they want, because now you're more likely to agree. I mean, think about it. We're all more open to suggestions from people we feel understand us.
Makes sense. So what about these manipulative personalities he talks about? Is it really possible to pinpoint certain types of people who are more likely to be manipulators?
The book definitely points to those with strong dark triad traits being more prone to manipulation.
Yeah.
Your narcissists, psychopaths, Machiavellian types. But it's important to remember that anyone can engage in manipulative behavior. It's not limited to specific personality types.
So it's not about labeling people, but more about recognizing patterns of behavior.
Exactly. And it's worth mentioning that the book also talks about, like, the flip side of this, the people who are often targets of manipulators. Highly empathetic people, sensitive people, they're often seen as easy prey because they tend to be more trusting, more willing
Yeah.
to give people the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, it's like they see that empathy and vulnerability and they're like, okay, I can use this.
Right. It was pretty messed up.
Definitely. And then there's body language, which, to be honest, I never really thought about in this context until I started reading about this stuff.
Yeah, the book really digs into how our bodies are constantly giving off signals, even when we don't realize it. Little things, a shift in posture, eye contact, whether you're fidgeting, all those things reveal our true feelings, our intentions. And manipulators are really good at picking up on these cues. They're reading you constantly.
So you're saying it's not just about controlling your own body language to seem more trustworthy or whatever. It's about being able to read other people's body language too.
Right. Knowing what to look for. And being aware of your own body language can actually be a form of self-defense. Making sure you're not unintentionally signaling weakness.
I never thought about it like that. So the outline mentioned something about stages of manipulation. Is that like a typical progression?
Yeah, the book suggests that it often starts with underlying needs or fears, like maybe a desire for control or a deep-seated insecurity about not getting what they want. And if those needs aren't met in healthy ways, the manipulative behaviors can escalate. It can start subtle, but then become more and more controlling over time.
So it's a coping mechanism gone wrong, basically.
In a way, yeah. And that's why the book draws this distinction between manipulation, which is all about self-serving deception, and persuasion, which in its purest form is about mutual understanding and respect. Persuasion is about finding common ground, working towards a win-win. Manipulation is about exploiting, controlling.
Okay, that makes sense. So with all this in mind, how do we actually spot manipulators in our own lives? Are there any red flags to look out for?
Definitely. The book points to several things. One is predatory behavior, where someone is always looking for an angle, trying to exploit others. Another is emotional blackmail, using guilt trips, threats, whatever it takes to get you to do what they want.
Oh, yeah, I've definitely dealt with that.
It's classic manipulation. And then there are other tactics, too. Playing the victim, creating drama, twisting your words. And manipulators often try to control your environment, isolate you from other people. And again, pay attention to those nonverbal cues. Sometimes someone's body language will totally contradict what they're saying.
So it's about being vigilant, right?
Right.
Paying attention to those gut feelings.
Absolutely. Trust your instincts.
Now let's get to this NLP stuff, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. It sounds pretty intense.
It can be. Basically, it's a set of techniques for understanding communication and behavior. And like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad. In therapy, NLP can be super helpful for overcoming phobias, changing negative thought patterns. But manipulators can use NLP too to influence and control.
So someone might be using NLP techniques on me without me even knowing it.
It's possible. I mean, think about things like anchoring, where a specific word or gesture triggers a certain emotion. Or rapport building techniques like mirroring someone's body language to create that instant sense of connection. The book talks about all that.
Wow. Okay, so then how do we distinguish between manipulation and ethical persuasion?
I think intent is key. Persuasion, when it's done right, is about honesty and transparency. You're upfront about your goals. You consider the other person's needs, too. You want a win-win situation. Manipulation is the opposite. It's all about deception, about getting what you want, even if it means hurting someone else.
And I guess that brings us to deception itself. What are some of the ways people try to deceive others, and what are some signs that someone might be lying?
The book gets into all sorts of deceptive tactics. One is being deliberately vague, providing minimal information so they don't get caught in a lie. Another is repetition, saying the same thing over and over again to try and make it seem true. As for spotting deception, pay attention to inconsistencies. Does their story keep changing? Do their words match their body language? And, are they trying to control the narrative? Shutting down questions, twisting your words, those are all red flags.
Wow. So much to unpack here. It's a lot to think about.
It is, but I think the big takeaway is that knowledge is power. The more we understand about these dark psychology concepts, about manipulation tactics, about how our minds and bodies work, the better equipped we are to protect ourselves and build healthy relationships.
Absolutely. Well, that's a great overview of Jake Smith's Manipulation, Body Language, Dark Psychology, NLP, Mind Control audiobook. Definitely some food for thought. Thank you for listening. See you soon with another one.